This is Jason with Chicago News, and this week we've got the beautiful 2017 Jaguar F-Pace 2.0D. When you walk up to this Jaguar from the front, you're struck by the grille design and just how clean, smooth this looks. Really aggressive, athletic lines across the hood. It's gorgeous from this angle. When you come around to the side, however, you notice that between the wheels, this part looks like just about every other SUV on the market. Now, I recognize that with two doors and the shape of an SUV, that's going to be a thing, but we would just like a little bit more excitement from the side when it promises so much at the front. They make up for it around the back, however, with some really great lines. You see this slope to the rear, some really interesting looking taillights. Overall, it just continues that athletic theme that reminds you of the Jaguar logo. Under the hood of our test car is this 2-liter diesel, 180 horsepower and 318 foot-pounds of torque. But critically, it gets in the mid-30s for highway mileage, which for a vehicle this size with this many features, it's great efficiency. There's a couple other engine options. You can get a 340 horsepower supercharged 6-cylinder and a 380 horsepower. Honestly, for an enthusiast like me, that fits a little bit better in a vehicle like this, but it's great to have this efficient option. So now that we're inside this Jaguar F-Pace diesel, let's see how it fares. A lot of diesels don't necessarily have a great driving experience with the sound of the engine, but we'll see how this one is. The engine is fairly quiet. It does give you a little bit of that rattle, a little bit of that sound that lets you know it's diesel, but overall they've done a great job of sort of hiding that fact. Now, what you do notice is it's not got a lot of top-end horsepower, so it really starts to run out of juice at 4,000 RPM, so it's a completely different driving dynamic than a gas engine. But with 180 horsepower and 318 foot-pounds of torque, really right off of idle, it's got a lot of get up and go because of all that torque. I think the thing for us that's missing is this is such an athletic looking car, as all Jaguars are, and this engine, it really isn't that exciting, so it doesn't really match the personality that you're kind of expecting when you walk up to this car. Our test car is a prestige model, and there's just a few pieces of the interior, these door handles and the center console here. It's a little bit thin plastic feeling. Honestly, some of its competitors do a much better job with interior fit and finish, so it's a bit of a letdown. If you go to some of the higher models, there's some actual leather coverings and some better finishes, but at least starting at 50,000, we'd hope for a little better here. Another thing that's a bit of a disappointment is the infotainment system. You've got a really nice widescreen here that on first glance looks like it would be a great system to use. And apparently Jaguar spent 4 years developing the interface for this. But we're really kind of disappointed with some of the quirky features it has and some of the ways the menus work. Seems like with that much effort put in, it would be a lot simpler. A couple of things we noticed about this system is that if you're, let's say, listening to music, you can then, let's say you want to change the seat settings. First of all, it's a little bit weird to have to go through 2 menus to get to this to change your temperature of the seat. But then what we noticed is you hit the back button, you would expect it to go back to the music, but it goes actually back to the home screen. So it's a fairly simple system on face value, but then once you start using it, it ends up losing a little bit of that functionality. It's just some simple things that could be changed to make it easier to use. It's got this integrated news viewer, which is kind of cool, but another neat thing is that you can actually play the audio of these stories.
President Trump, negative polls are not fake.
So it allows you to listen to a news story without actually reading it. Just kind of a cool feature. The center display here is also an LCD and it's fully configurable. You can change the way the gauges look. Now you can make this into a map so it shows you your navigation, but there's several menu layers to get to this. And so it's not very convenient to use necessarily. Another feature that we'd hope, given all of the work put into this, that would be easier to use. Our test vehicle is equipped with this Meridian stereo system, which actually sounds really great. Let's see how this 2-liter diesel pulls this big SUV. Again, pretty good torque right off the bat, but it runs out of steam at the top and it sounds a little bit buzzy. doesn't really match the luxury feel of this Jaguar. One of the best features about this Jaguar is the handling. When you look at even the Jaguar symbol, you know, it's obviously a leaping cat, and it gives you the sense of athleticism, and this delivers on that promise. It's really nimble, especially for a vehicle of this size. It's got great steering feel and actually a ton of grip. Even though this model doesn't have the highest performance tires, I can only imagine just how good one of the true sport models would handle. Like a lot of cars these days, this has an auto start stop feature, so when you stop at a light, it shuts the engine off. One of the things that you get with this diesel engine though is it's a little bit loud at startup, so it's a little obvious when you start it back up and start driving, it's kind of loud. So what do we think of this 2017 Jaguar F-Pace? Well, first of all, it's beautiful. There's no disputing that. Jaguar really does make a great looking vehicle, but there's a couple of letdowns on the inside, and when you add all of that up, it's missing a little something. Now, with the V6, this would be great fun, but when you combine the looks, the handling, and a pretty great entry-level price, this is one to take a look at.